إن الحمد لله, all praise is due to Allah. نحمده ونستعينه, we praise Him and we seek His help. ونستغفره, and we seek His forgiveness. ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. We seek Allah's protection from the evil of ourselves and our bad deeds. من يهده الله فلا مضل له. Whoever Allah guides, there is no one who can lead him astray. ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. And whoever He allows to go astray, there is no one who can give him guidance. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. And I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship other than Allah alone and without partners. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and His messenger. أما بعد. فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله. The best narrative is the book of Allah. وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. The best guidance is that of our Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. وشر الأمور محدثاتها. And the worst of affairs are those things that we introduce in this deen of ours. وكل بدعة ضلالة. And every innovation leads astray. وَكُلَّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ. And every going astray is in the fire. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained as a pathway to Jannah the acquisition of knowledge, that we acquire understanding of this deen. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said to us, taught us, that the acquisition or the seeking of knowledge, فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ, it is a compulsory act on each believer. And there are certain aspects of knowledge that are a collective responsibility. And there are aspects of knowledge that each individual must have. And there is no excuse for a believer not to have understanding of Tawheed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and His names and His attributes. Knowing that Allah is Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum, Al-Muhaymin, Al-Aziz, Al-Jabbar, Al-Mutakabbir. That there is nothing like Him. So that when we think about Allah, we don't think about Him in human terms. But we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He describes Himself, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is nothing whatsoever like Allah, yet He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. If there is nothing like Him, then we cannot have any imagery in our minds of the Creator of the heavens and the earth. There is no yardstick that we could use to measure Him and say He is like or not like this. We don't have that imagery in our heads. For this reason, then, if Allah describes Himself in a way, in the Quran, we accept it the way it comes in the book without trying to deny it or explain away the meanings of the Quran. This is what the old scholars used to say. Like Imam Malik, Abi Hanifa, Al-Shafi'i, Al-Awza'i, Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others. They used to say concerning these descriptions that we find in the book, أَمِرُوهَا كَمَا جَاءَتْ بِلَا كَيْفٍ. Accept them as they come without saying how. Imam Malik got angry with a person once he entered the masjid and said, Al-Rahman al-Arsh istawa, kayfa istawa. The merciful established on His throne, how? Imam Malik got upset. And he taught it. He said, Al-Istiwa ma'loom, yani logati. The meaning of it is known in the language, wal-kayf majhool. How this thing relates to Allah, we don't know. Because there is no yardstick that you can use and say Allah is like this. So you cannot describe it. Well, iman bihi wajibun. And to have faith in it is compulsory. This is an aspect of the deen then, Tawheed, that every believer has to understand. His Lord, what we're supposed to think and how we're supposed to think about Him. The things that we need to protect ourselves against, so that we would not be on a path to hell and the things that we're on a path to Jannah. Also the Salah. These are compulsory things that each believer needs to know. The aspects of the Salah. And if he has sufficient funds, when he is supposed to be giving zakat, then he needs to know about the laws of zakat. If he intends to perform hajj, then he needs to study ahead of time, so as to prepare himself to worship Allah. Because you can only worship Allah the way He describes, or the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us that Allah is supposed to be worshipped. Anything outside of that shall be rejected. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ taught Aisha radiallahu anha and others amongst the Sahaba. Man ahdatha fi amrina hada ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd. Whoever introduces into this affair of ours that which is not of it, it shall be rejected. So knowledge then is based on what Allah said, what the Prophet ﷺ taught us, and then there has to be sincerity. If a person wants to marry, he has to understand what his responsibilities are. He must prepare himself by going back to the book and the sunnah, finding out what is her responsibility, what are my responsibilities, so that we would prepare ourselves. Allah then has to be worshipped based on understanding, not ignorance. For this reason then, truly, talabul ilm, the acquisition of knowledge, is binding on each believer to live in the books, if possible, so that we would know how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And don't think that it is too difficult. Don't think that it is too difficult to put a part of your time aside, out of the week, a few hours, an hour maybe, to understand how am I to pray. What is required of me in terms of prayer? Don't go through life saying, well, I see the brothers doing this. وَإِن تُتِعَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you were to obey most people in the earth, they will lead you astray. And don't you know that in the latter days, people will be more in misguidance than on guidance. So it is necessary for us to go back and refer to the sources, the authentic sources, so that we would know how to conduct ourselves. Don't consider it too difficult. Don't consider it too difficult. Kathir ibn Qais said, he was in Damascus. He said, I was sitting down with Abi Darda, and a man came to him. He said, جِئْتُكَ مِنْ مَدِينَةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ لِحَدِيثٍ. I came to you from Medina for one hadith. بلغني أنك تحدثه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. It came to me that you were narrating this from Allah's Messenger. Just one hadith. وما جئت لحاجة يعني حاجة أخرى. I came to you for nothing else other than this. He said, then listen to me. سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما سلك الله به طريقا إلى الجنة. Listen to what Allah's Messenger said. Whoever goes out traversing and journeying the path of knowledge, Allah shall make easy for him a pathway to Jannah. This brother, probably in his wildest imagination, could not have seen or could have understood the benefits of his journey and the hardships that he bore. To hear this one hadith and the opening statements must have pleased his heart. But he didn't stop there. He said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam saying that the angels place their wings down for the person who goes out in search of knowledge. He said, إِنَّ الْعَالَمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَالْحِيتَانُ فِي جَوْفِ الْمَاءِ. Says, and also the person who has understanding of this being, whoever is in the heavens, And whoever is on the earth, even the fish in the sea, seek forgiveness for this person. And then he taught them. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, in the fadl al-alam, the benefit and the virtues of a person who has understanding of this deen over the person who is just worshipping is like the radiance of the moon on a full night when it is full over the brightness of all other stars. Like the brightness of the moon when it's full as compared to those other stars around it. And then he taught this person who came, he said, understand that the Anbiya, the messengers, left nothing as a legacy other than knowledge. They didn't leave gold and silver coins. They didn't do this. Most of them lived in poverty. But what they left was something that would enlighten and guard the hearts of mankind. They left knowledge of Allah, of the things that would benefit you in this life and in the life to come. So whoever takes hold of it, man akhadahu, whoever takes hold of it has received a whole lot of good. Don't then think it too difficult to exert ourselves to acquire a bit of understanding of this deen. Whoever traverses or travels a path to acquire understanding, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall make easy for him a pathway to Jannah. And Allah let us see the truth. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونسلم ونصلي على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. Brothers and sisters in Islam, acquiring an understanding of this deen and practicing it is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for you good in this life and in the life to come. Muawiyah said, I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah intends good for, He gives him some understanding of this deen of Allah. He gives him understanding of this deen. And for this reason, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prayed for his cousin, Ibn Abbas, he didn't ask him, oh Allah, spread out the dunya for him. Make his pocket heavy. Give him a fat bankroll. No. He said, Allahumma faqihhu fi deen wa alimhu at-ta'wil. Oh Allah, give him understanding of the deen and the interpretation of your book. Pray for him something that would allow him to be benefited in this life and in the life to come. Something that would enlighten his heart after being dead. We were in darkness before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this guidance. And we can only increase in light and in illumination if we follow what Allah gave us and what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought. There is no better pathway to Jannah than this. There is no other pathway to Jannah other than this. And we will obey Allah and acquire understanding of His deen and be like those who went before us. That first generation, those who had the opportunity to sit with Allah's Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, and acquire an understanding of His deen. And if we give it up, then we will be otherwise. Then we will be otherwise. Brothers and sisters in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam taught us, when a man dies, when you're covered up under the ground, your deeds stop. Once Allah decrees and gives the command to Malik al-Maut, we will all stare death in the face soon. When Allah gives the command, and He says, take the soul of myself. When a man dies,